Tracking macros seems complicated, but the truth is, most people are actually already doing it. They're just not good at it yet. Every time you eyeball your portions, especially your meats or your veggies, you're actually counting calories and tracking macros. However, this way is probably very inaccurate, especially if you haven't built up the actual skill of being able to eyeball it. Now, this is exactly how some people will eat extra calories without even noticing it. Listen, I get it. I thought I was eating the healthy meals, chicken and rice and broccoli, but you can actually eat too much of that stuff and still gain weight. I know, it's shocking. Today, I'm going to break down the 4-step macro tracking system I use for myself and my clients. So, first things first, you got to understand what macros are. Macros are short for macronutrients, so proteins, carbs, and fats. And each one has a role, right? So, protein helps you build muscle, carbs help you with energy, and fats regulate your hormones. Now, if your goal is fat loss and not weight loss, because those are two completely different things, right? You want to start with the split of 40, 30, 30. So 40% of your calories comes from protein. 30% of your calories comes from carbs, and then 30% comes from fats. If you want to find your calorie target for each day, what I typically do is I multiply my body weight times 12 or 14. And then depending on how active you are, you apply those macro splits to your specific calorie goal. So the next step is to pick an app that you can track your calories and your macros, right? I like MyFitnessPal just because it's simple, it's easy to use, and the app hasn't actually given me a problem yet. So that's a win in my book. So it doesn't really matter which app you use. It all matters about your consistency and if you can use it and keep using it over time. The third step is to log your meals. And this is the biggest step, all right? You want to log your meals before you actually eat them. Typically before that day even comes up. So at least one day prior. This helps you understand your eating habits, what time you're going to eat, and you're not going to pick some random snack in the middle of the day because you know you have food planned already. And then the last step is just to prioritize protein. You want at least 1 gram per pound of body weight every single day. This is crucial. So if you weigh 200 pounds, your goal in protein per day is 200 grams. I know that seems like a lot and it might be overkill, but I'd rather have too much protein and feel satiated throughout the day versus not getting enough and not retaining enough muscle like I should. Now, you might be asking, what happens if I go off routine? What should I do? Right? The first thing you shouldn't do is panic. You don't need to start over. You don't need to panic. You just need to settle down and keep eating the same things you've been eating. That's on your plan. Another question that I normally get is, how do I know my specific macro numbers each day? Look, that's okay. You don't need to know your exact macro numbers. You need to get within 10 grams for each macronutrient. All right. If your macros are supposed to be, you know, 150 grams of carbs per day and you eat, 160, that's totally fine. Right. You're within a reasonable margin. Okay. And then lastly, some people ask, how do I not get bored of eating the same foods every day? And trust me, I don't want to eat the same foods every day. So the trick with this, right, is having protein staples and veggie staples in your diet that you can season differently. So this could be seasoning it with buffalo sauce one day or seasoning it with ranch the next day or whatever, right? And of course, those are dressings, but you get the point, okay? Look, if anybody tells you tracking macros is obsessive, tell them that being overweight and being fat is obsessive, okay? You're not trying to be that. Look, guessing is what gets people stuck, right? But tracking is what's going to help you actually succeed in life. Remember, fellas, greatness is not given, it's earned.